Camilla is the Queen of Great Britain, the second wife of the reigning monarch and a woman who was once a target of the hatred of her compatriots. But she managed to overcome difficult times, find personal happiness, and gain the title of Queen. In this video, we will tell you all about it. From Mistress to Queen, how Camilla Parker Bowles lives and how rich she is. Camilla Rosemary Shand was born on July 17, 1947, in London, in a family of noble descent. That is why her birth took place not in a regular hospital, but in King's College Hospital in Lambeth. Interestingly enough, the medical team that delivered Camilla helped Queen Elizabeth II give birth to her firstborn son, Prince Charles, a year later. Camilla's father, Bruce Shand, was an officer in the British Army and a World War II veteran, and after his retirement, he got into the wine business. He belonged to the upper class, and his ancestors moved to England from Scotland. Camilla's mother, Rosalind Cubitt, daughter of the 3rd Baron Ashcombe, was named the 1939 Debutante of the Year and was a member of the ball attended by King George VI and his wife Elizabeth. There is a curious episode in Camilla's family history. Her maternal great-grandmother, Alice Keppel, had a secret affair with Charles's great-great-grandfather, Edward VII. It is rumored that they may have shared a daughter, therefore the current king and queen might be related. However, even without that, they have a distant kinship, as they are ninth cousins. By the way, it was also revealed that Camilla shares common ancestors with singers Madonna and Celine Dion. A few years after the birth of their first daughter, the Shand family had 2 more children, Sonia Annabelle and Mark. By the way, Sonia became an interior designer and Mark became a travel writer. The children grew up in an 18th century estate in East Sussex under the care of a host of tutors and nannies. They had 7 bedrooms, a living room, kitchen, and dining room, and the grounds included an orchard and swimming pool. Camilla always looked back on her childhood with warmth, saying it was perfect in every sense and gave her the best start in life one could wish for. She was raised in a loving and safe environment. Her father often read to her at night, which gave her a love of books from childhood. But otherwise, the girl grew up a real tomboy. Camilla, or simply Millie, loved playing with the farm children, swimming in the lakes, climbing trees, and spending time surrounded by animals, specifically horses and greyhounds. The only exception she made was on Sundays when she needed to put on a dress to go to church. At the age of 5, the girl was sent to Dumbrell School in Ditchling Village. This place was the opposite of her cozy childhood home. The boarding school was famous for its strict discipline, and students were punished for the slightest offenses. Complaints were punished by whipping, and the classrooms had no heating in the winter. Little Millie endured all the challenges and never once complained to her parents in all her years of schooling. At the age of 10, she was transferred to Queensgate School in London, where girls were taught manners, the game of bridge, and other aristocratic activities. However, Millie refused to conform to the model of an elegant and sophisticated young lady. She was considered a troublemaker, talked freely with the boys about anything that interested them, and once climbed onto the roof of the school to smoke a cigarette. In 1964, the girl left Queensgate, receiving an O-level certificate, and spent the summer learning to drive, riding horses, and just hanging out by the pool. She then went on to study at a private girls' school in Switzerland, and then spent 6 months studying French language and French literature at the University of London Institute in Paris. In March 1965, Camilla was a debutante at a ball in London, after which she began her independent life in the capital. She shared an apartment with a friend and later moved to the affluent Belgravia neighborhood, where she shared a rented apartment with Virginia Carrington, daughter of British politician Peter Carrington. She called Camilla a slob because her bedroom was always a mess. That same year, 1965, at a party, young Miss Shand met Kevin Burke, the 19-year-old son of the vice chairman of Hawker Siddeley, an aircraft manufacturing company. Camilla has always been surrounded by suitors, and Burke was no exception. The girl won him over with her looks and sense of humor. Young couples spent time at cocktail parties, but soon Camilla dumped the guy. Despite this, even many years later, Kevin spoke warmly of his ex-girlfriend. By the way, Burke passed away recently, in August 2023. And while men were delighted with the free-spirited and charming girl, women disliked her. Camilla shocked posh ladies with her sharp tongue, her interest in politics and sports, smoking, and drinking. Incidentally, this prevented her from working in a design agency where she took a job as a secretary. The morning after another party, the girl was late and was fired after only a week of working there. However, it was one of several part-time jobs for the future king's spouse. Camilla also frequently attended equestrian events, went horseback riding herself, and had a passion for painting. She even took private lessons from an artist, but most of her work ended up in the trash. Her other interests included fishing and gardening. In the late 60s, Shand met Officer Andrew Parker Bowles, and they began dating. But the young man didn't intend to be faithful to Camilla. Every now and then, she was informed about his affairs, and once she caught him with another girl. They say that after seeing Andrew's car near her acquaintance's house, in a fit of jealousy, the girl wrote a crude message on the windshield with a lipstick and flattened the tires. After a loud quarrel, lovers broke up, although they often crossed paths at social events, and Camilla started a short-lived fling with a young representative of the banking dynasty, Rupert Hambro. In 1971, Miss Shand met Prince Charles. Many people believe that it happened at a polo match, but official biographers name the place of the fateful meeting as the apartment of Lucia Santa Cruz, a mutual friend who lived near Camilla's house. There is a rumor that the light-hearted girl immediately spilled the fact to the prince about the secret relationship of their relatives and suggested they follow suit. Charles was charmed by the cheerfulness and spontaneity of his new acquaintance because he lacked these qualities himself. The young people became close friends, and soon the friendship turned into a romance. They did not hide their relationship, and when it became more serious, Charles met with Shand's family and introduced the girl to some of his family members. However, after the prince went overseas to join the Royal Navy in early 1973, he and Camilla paused communicating. There are several theories why this happened. According to one of them, the young man himself asked the girl not to wait for him, doubting that he would want to marry in the near future. According to another theory, the Queen Mother did not approve of Shand, and according to a third theory, the prince's great-uncle, Louis Mountbatten, opposed the relationship. But biographers of the royal family agree on one thing. Even if Charles had asked for permission, they wouldn't have allowed him to marry Camilla. She was considered an unsuitable candidate to be the wife of the heir to the throne, and her reputation was quite controversial. That same year, 1973, the media announced Camilla Shand's engagement to Andrew Parker Bowles, and soon, on July 4, they got married. The ceremony at the Royal Military Chapel in St. James's Park for 800 guests was considered the wedding of the year in high society circles. The Queen Mother, Elizabeth II's sister Margaret, and Princess Anne attended the ceremony. Interestingly enough, the groom had tried to win the heart of the Queen's daughter a few years earlier, but was unsuccessful. The newlyweds settled in Wiltshire, having bought Bulliahide Manor in Allington, consisting of 3 cottages, and then moved to Middlewick House in Corsham. In December 1974, the firstborn son, Thomas Henry Charles, or simply Tom, was born. Curiously, the boy's godfather was none other than the Crown Prince. It is believed that this was a great excuse for Charles to appear more often at the Bowles estate, presumably to visit his godson. In 1978, the family had a daughter, Laura. Tom is now a cookbook author and restaurant critic, and Laura works as an art curator. All this time, Camilla and the future king never stopped communicating, at first as friends, but soon they became lovers again. It is believed that in the first years of marriage, Camilla was a devoted wife, hoping that her husband would also stop sleeping around. But Andrew was constantly spotted with different women, and in 1980, Camilla stopped suppressing her feelings for Charles. According to some accounts, it happened even earlier. There was no pretense. The spouses were well aware of the affairs, but remained married. In 1981, the prince married Diana Spencer, but on the eve of the wedding, he gave Camilla a bracelet decorated with the letters G and F, the initials of their secret names, Gladys and Fred. Even then, Diana knew that the groom loved someone else, and during the wedding trip is said to have found photos of his mistress in her husband's belongings. No wonder the women disliked each other. The Princess of Wales called Camilla a Rottweiler, and the latter referred to the people's favorite as a ridiculous creature in her letters to Charles. After the birth of their youngest son, Charles and Diana began to live separately, and in 1986, their marriage irretrievably broke up. This is what the prince himself said in an interview, calling this date the point at which he resumed his relationship with Camilla. Everyone close to them was aware of it, and in 1992, the rest of the world found out. At that time, Diana's biography was published, and in 1993, an intimate conversation between Charles and Camilla was made public. The prince had no choice but to admit to having a mistress, and a barrage of public hatred descended upon her. In December 1994, after 21 years of marriage, Parker Bowles filed for divorce, stating that they had been separated for many years, and on March 3, 1995, the marriage was officially terminated. Given that Camilla had become just about the most hated woman in Britain, and that her mother had died shortly before the divorce, this was a very difficult time for her. The prince's divorce from Diana soon followed, which was finalized in August 1996. The media's harassment of Camilla only intensified. She was harassed by journalists, and for about a year, she avoided leaving the house. Nevertheless, she and Charles were planning to marry and were working with PR experts to develop a plan to whitewash their reputation. On August 31, 1997, Diana died in a car accident, and Camilla and Charles were again caught in the crosshairs. The royal family was suspected of involvement in the tragedy, and a new, even stronger wave of hatred hit Camilla. To avoid drawing unnecessary attention to the monarch's family, the queen advised her son to postpone plans to marry, and Camilla once again locked herself at home. Reading and painting helped her to cope with the stress. As she admitted, nothing good came out of the painting lessons, but her life eventually got better. Charles and Camilla first came out as a couple a year and a half after Lady Di's death, but people still believed that Parker Bowles had ruined the marriage of the heir to the throne. To this day, there are those in the UK who dislike Camilla, but over time, she has proven her loyalty to the monarchy and the current king. By the way, she has a calming effect on Charles. Many people close to the royal family have noted this. By the early 2000s, the question of the marriage was raised, and finally on February 10, 2005, the engagement of Camilla and the Prince of Wales was announced. The man gifted his beloved with a platinum ring with a central emerald-cut diamond surrounded by 6 other smaller stones. It was part of the Queen Mother's collection and was given to Charles from Elizabeth II. The value of the family relic is estimated at $288,000. The ring is just one of Camilla's many pieces of jewelry from the Queen Mother's collection. The royal wedding took place on April 9 that same year, 2005, at Windsor Guildhall. Camilla and Charles exchanged vows in a civil ceremony that was not attended by the Queen. As head of the Anglican Church, she could not attend events that went against the interests of the church, and the second marriage after the wedding is just one of those events. The groom's mother, however, attended a church service at St. George's Chapel in Windsor Castle, and then hosted a celebratory reception. As luck would have it, on the day of this much-anticipated wedding, Camilla fell seriously ill with sinusitis. She literally couldn't get out of bed and was also very nervous, but her sister Annabelle helped her pull herself together and took care of the rest. For the civil ceremony, the bride chose a Robinson Valentine dress made of cream chiffon, and in the chapel, she wore a sky blue floor-length gown and a light coat to match, embroidered with gold threads. After becoming the prince's wife, Camilla received all the titles that Diana had previously held. However, she decided to avoid using the title Princess of Wales in memory of the late people's favorite. Instead, she used the Duchess of Cornwall as her primary title. Camilla enthusiastically took up work for the crown, accompanying her husband on his travels and engaging in charity work. For instance, she became president and patron of more than 90 charities. By the way, despite all the international travel her position required, Camilla is afraid of flying and tries to avoid traveling by airplane. The role of Charles's wife in royal affairs increased over time. For example, her efforts in 2020 to support the UK Health Service were particularly noted by Elizabeth II, and after Prince Philip's death on April 21st, she, along with Princess Anne, Countess Sophie, and Duchess Catherine, became the Queen's main support. By the way, the Duke of Edinburgh during his lifetime transferred to his daughter-in-law several of his significant responsibilities and sincerely considered her a model of fortitude and courage. In early 2022, the Queen announced that upon her death when Prince Charles ascended the throne, Camilla would become the new Queen Consort. That's what happened on September 8 of that year. She now shares the social rank and status of her spouse, but has no authority to execute public affairs. "I have to be by the king's side as a backup," Camilla said about her new status. Camilla was crowned with her husband on May 6, 2023. It was soon announced that, unlike Prince Philip, she would not receive parliamentary allowance. Back in 2011, however, the Sovereign Grants Act canceled all of these payments to members of the royal family. The only exception was the Duke of Edinburgh, so the Queen Consort's expenses are funded by a sovereign grant as before. For instance, in 2018, she and Charles got $1.8 million from it. The prince and Camilla used to receive a percentage of the income from the Duchy of Cornwall's private estate. Now the reigning monarch is entitled to 25% of the profits of crown property. About half of the amount is known to go to travel and royal events, and a quarter goes to taxes. The remaining amount goes to other members of the royal family, as well as unofficial purchases and the royal savings account. King's wife's net worth is estimated at $5 million. She received about $630,000 as an inheritance, another amount as compensation after her divorce from her first husband. At the same time, Camilla bought an estate in English Wiltshire called Ray Mill for $1 million and kept it after marrying Charles. For a long time, the official residence of the couple was Clarence House in London. This 19th century mansion is part of St. James's Palace and is decorated inside with carpets and artwork. The royals hosted guests in several rooms, including the library, and the windows overlook a beautiful lavender garden. For many years, Camilla smoked, although Charles can't stand the smell of cigarettes. Nevertheless, there was an ashtray and a cigarette case in every room of their house. However, the unhealthy habit had to be abandoned when she developed a bad cough. Charles and Camilla's country home is Highgrove House, purchased by the prince back in the 80s. That said, the estate's gardens are open to visitors from April to October. The property is now technically under the management of Prince William, but he is unlikely to prevent his father and Camilla from spending time there. Besides, the king and queen have 6 residences at their disposal: Buckingham Palace, which is currently under renovation, Windsor Castle, Sandringham Palace, Holyrood Palace, and Balmoral Castle in Scotland, and Hillsborough Castle in Ireland. Camilla has been spotted driving more than once, but the paparazzi were more interested in the woman herself than the brand of her car. And when she and her husband are on a trip, he's usually behind the wheel, such as in the case of his 1969 Aston Martin DB6 Volant. Camilla made an interesting change to the royal arrangement by replacing the traditional position of lady-in-waiting with the Queen's companion. The position requires a person to assist at official events, but duties will no longer include answering letters and daily planning. Charles's wife likes to spend her free time with her 5 grandchildren. She admits that socializing with them allows her to be in touch with the feelings and ideas of young people. By the way, her grandchildren just call her Gaga. Camilla has always preferred to cook herself, and she also admitted that she could spend all day in her garden. The Queen is against dieting and prefers balanced nutrition. She always has a variety of vegetables, fruits, and dairy products on her table. Some of her favorite dishes include scrambled eggs, baked beans, fish, and mushroom dishes. And for dessert, the Queen loves Victoria sponge cake, ice cream with bitter chocolate, strawberries, and cream. Camilla is an avid dog person. She and Charles have 2 Jack Russell Terriers, Beth and Bluebell. She is also the patroness of the Kennel Club, an organization that raises funds to help homeless animals and oversees a foundation focused on dog oncology. By the way, Camilla used to love fox hunting, but it was banned in 2005. The King and Queen of Great Britain don't mind spending time watching TV series. And while Charles loves Doctor Who, Camilla loves the Danish series The Killing. She even visited the set of the project, where she was given a sweater of the main character, Sarah Lund. While most members of the royal family dislike the series The Crown, Camilla is more favorable to it. She once met actress Emerald Fennell, who portrayed her on screen. Camilla herself once appeared on the British radio drama The Archers, as well as the TV show Antiques Roadshow, which she watched for many years. Camilla hasn't neglected reading either. Moreover, in 2021, she started an online club called the Duchess of Cornwall's Reading Room, where she shares book recommendations and leads discussions with authors on her Instagram account. In February 2023, the online club was relaunched as a charity club called the Queen's Reading Room. In March 2022, during the start of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, Camilla made a substantial donation to Ukrainian refugees. The Queen Consort calls herself a feminist and focuses a lot on working with victims of abuse. In her speeches, she has repeatedly noted that we live in a global pandemic of violence against women, and that she was aware of similar cases in her own community. Camilla made an amazing journey from an unwanted girl with a controversial reputation, as it was believed at the time, to the title of Queen of Great Britain. Some people hate her, others adore her. How do you feel about Camilla?
If you liked the video, leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss anything interesting.